Good afternoon, folks. Thanks for joining. Appreciate y'all being here. Today, we are going to be doing a live Schnauzer best ball draft brought to us by Underdog. This is a tournament where 100,000 goes to first, and it's got a 20 entry max. We're currently 12 entries in, and we have 8 to go. So I'll be your host today. I'll be taking you through all aspects of the draft. I'm going to try to engage with you guys as much as possible, answer any questions you guys have about best ball or about your own dynasty or redraft teams. And yeah, looking forward to it. Happy Friday. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and put us in a room with a 20-second clock, and we'll see how quickly this fills. Waiting for 4 people. So just a little bit about my plans for best ball this year. After I fill the Schnauzer, I'm gonna mix in the puppy with the Best Ball Mania 6. And try to fill as many, I don't know, about 50 spots in the puppy, and use that as a chance to kind of learn the board and get an idea of ADPs and risers and fallers, where the value is, where the value traps are, and then eventually, put in as many tickets, I guess you could say, or many rosters as I can, excuse me, for Best Ball Mania 6. Waiting for one person. Again, I'm going to try to be engaged the whole time, try to talk through all of my picks, continue to look at the board, recap the board as the rounds go by, try to make this as engaging as possible. And hopefully you learn something, I learned something, and we continue to get better at this crazy game called best ball and fantasy football in general. Let's be honest. Waiting for one person, and we'll see where our draft spot is. Haven't got a lot of early draft picks. A lot of 3, 4, 5s kind of in the middle and a few at the end. So far, it's been a pretty good best ball season. And yeah, that's what I've got so far. Again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for helping me grow the channel. I guess while we wait for that one person, I will go ahead and quickly plug Fantasy Fitness. Fantasy Fitness is the app that I built that helps you manage your dynasty rosters, helps you learn players, player evals, news alerts. It's quite fun and quite in depth. So that's what I've got for you there. And we are coming into this draft. Again, this is the Schnauzer, $3 entry, 20 entry max. We are going to be drafting from the 3-hole, and we'll see how that goes. Typically in this area, I'm taking Chase, Jefferson, or CD. We'll just have to see how this plays out, but I do generally like to start out a little bit heavier on the wide receivers. I am, or a hero RB build in the first 2 rounds. Typically, I'll wait on tight end quite a while. There's a couple articles that have come out recently, and I'll try to add them in the show notes that have kind of talked about how drafting tight end late is the most, I guess, EV. I don't know. I don't really use that term, but I know a lot of people do. Okay, we're on the clock here at the 3. I'm going to go ahead and roll Justin Jefferson here. Feel like that's pretty solid value. Robinson goes 4, and we'll go ahead and flip over to the board because I know everybody loves the board. So just to recap how this draft has started, we got Chase, Barkley. I took Jefferson at 3. Robinson comes off at 4. Gibbs at 5. Lamb at 6. That feels like good value there for Lamb at the 6 hole. And then we'll just let this play out. Puka at the 7. St. Brown at the 8. So nothing unusual yet that I'm seeing. Neighbors goes at 9. Genty at 10. That feels very, very good for Genty. Nico at the 11. And to finish out the first, we have, drum roll, Ryan Thomas. Love it. And McCaffrey. So Sampu goes Thomas, McCaffrey. That feels like tremendous value for both those players. I think Thomas has room to grow. And McCaffrey, if he stays healthy, he's a top 3 back in this league. So he'll definitely pay back that value at the end of the first, beginning of the second, in this case. London at the 2-2, Henry at the 2-3. He just signed that nice deal with Baltimore for a 2-year extension. So it looks like he's going to be around for at least one more, probably 2 more years. Ladd at the 2-4. Let's see. Achan. Three picks away, we have Bowers at the 2-6. Brown at the 2-7. That again feels like solid value like that. Build going on by Taco. JT at the 2-8. Okay. So right here, I like Trey. I also like Bucky. I'm going to do a hero build today and go Bucky and then circle back to the wide receivers. But go ahead and lock up Bucky as my hero RB. And I'll be looking to play off of that. As for schedules, those just came out. And real quick, before I get distracted, one pick away. After Irving, we had Higgins, McLaurin, and then Chase Brown. McBride falls to the 3rd. I haven't seen that very often in my draft, so I think that's going to be pretty good value there for McBride. So we'll go ahead and do that. He's more of a pass-catching tight end, and he slips 5 picks past ADP this early. That again feels like value. Is it value? I don't know. That remains to be seen, but it definitely feels like value. And he's not a typical tight end. I generally wait on tight end. If you can't get somebody like Bowers or McBride at value, then I'm gonna wait a while. But when you've got these guys with their pass catching upside, I'll take some stabs when they're slipping. That said, let's go ahead and recap that second round. So we had Christian, London, Henry, McConkey, Achan, Bowers, Brown, Taylor, Hill. We took Bucky at the 2-10, and then Higgins and McLaurin to wrap up that round. Then in the third, Chase came off the board. Then Harrison, McBride, we take at the 3-3. And then it goes Smith and Jigba, Rashi Rice, Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson at the 3-7, Adams at the 3-8, Evans at the 3-9. First quarterback comes off here at the 3-10, and Lamar. And then with pick 35, we've got Kyron Williams. That seems to be a very consistent place for him to go. Brees Hall at the end of the third, and that closes up the third. And then to start the fourth here, we have Travis Hunter. He's been creeping up boards. Could have got him in the fifth. Then it was early fifth. Then it was late fourth. Now we're talking about early fourth. So he's really creeped up the boards after the draft and that early number 2 draft capital, and some of the talk from the GM and Liam Cohen that he was going to play mainly on offense, although we just heard he's taking snaps on defense. So that's going to be an interesting one to play, to watch play out. After that Travis Hunter pick, though, we had Josh Allen at the 4-2, Xavier at the 4-3, Xavier Worthy, excuse me, Omarion Hampton at the 4-4, DK Metcalf at the 4-5, Tet goes off at the 4-6. Let's go ahead and look at the landscape a little bit here. DJ Moore. Ten seconds. Then we're back on the clock. Devonta Smith, that's a good pick. I like that. With who we play in? Minnesota's playing Detroit, so we're going to go Jamison Williams here. We're going to get our game stack going between Detroit and Minnesota. So week 17, we have a Detroit-Minnesota matchup. To think ahead a little bit, Tampa Bay's got Miami. So we have a Jalen Waddle who did he just go? Let's see. No, he didn't. He's still on the board. I like that. That would be a bring back with Tampa and another wide receiver in this range. I like him a lot this year. One, the value is the cheapest it's ever been, as far as I can remember. This is the cheapest I've ever seen Waddle in drafts. We're going in the 5th. He was, for a while there, he was a 2-3 turn. Then he was a mid-3. I mean, he feels a little bit like a falling knife, if you guys are familiar with that analogy from stocks. But we have to bounce. We have to bet on bounce backs. We have to bet on some regression when guys fall 2-3 rounds. We saw this a few years ago with Josh Jacobs when he fell out of favor, was being drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round in some drafts, and he had the year where he was the rushing champion. So, you have to bet on stocks and players that fall out of favor. That's how you find value. The key is to hopefully avoid the value traps, those that appear as though they're value, but really they're not. And that could very well be Waddle in this case, but I'm going to take my chances here. After I took Waddle at the 5-3, we had Hubbard, Flowers, Hurts, Sutton, Pickens, Kamara, Ridley, Kittle, Kenneth Walker to round out that 5th round. And then for the 6th round, we have Godwin, Addison, Jennings, Olave. Now Henderson goes off the board. We're going to switch back over and see what we have cooking here in terms of wide receivers or running backs for that matter. We're up to 3 wide receivers. Would like to continue to build that out. Could look to get into some new stacks, either game stacks or team stacks. Chicago's playing San Francisco, so this could be a prime spot. Potentially, we'll see if Adunze goes here. Pearsall just went. Montgomery goes. So I'm going to go ahead and take a Dunze here, and then I'm going to try to circle back and get Brandon Ayuk. And then that way I've got a Bears, Chicago Bears, San Francisco. I feel at that point like I've built out that stack quite a bit. We'll see if Ayuk makes it. That would be nice. If not, we're just going to take best player available here, and we'll look to see how we can weave that in later. Okay, we did get Ayuk. So I'm going to go ahead and add him to the squad. Now we're at Justin Jefferson, Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle, Roma Dunze, Brandon Ayuk. We do have an elite tight end in Trey McBride, who also, poses really just as like could be in the flex a lot because he's such a good pass catching tight end. And then Bucky Irving as our anchor RB. Now I'm going to tag a couple guys here at the quarterback spot. I want to try to target somebody like Jared Goff. He could be a nice part of this stack. Okay, where's he at? Jared Goff. Let's get the tight ends out of here. That's confusing me. Okay, we could also get a Brock Purdy with this build. We also potentially a Caleb, a Kyler. So there's some juice here at the wide receiver and quarterback stack. The way that this could play out. Could also add Tua there, although I'm not really sure I want to add Jonnu at this point since we invested early in tight end. I think running back at this point, if there's value on the board. Whoops, excuse me. Let's go ahead and head back to the board. After I took Rome, we had Sam Laporta go right after that and Jerry Jeudy. Then we had Golden, Myers, Ayuk. That was our pick. Diggs, Mahomes, Shakir, Mooney, Judkins, Swift, Reed, Burden, Caleb Johnson to round out that seventh. Coming back quickly in the eighth, we have Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones at the 8-2, Pollard at the 8-3, Egbuka, the 8-4, Hawkinson at the 8-5, Pacheco at the 8-6, and then Brian Robinson. Come back to the team. What do we see here in terms of guys that are on the board? Could be value. Personally, I would pick a Kyler here if he's not on the board. Then we'll see how that goes. But I like Kyler here. We are into the almost ninth round, end of the eighth. So we're going to pick Kyler, stack him with McBride, plus we get his rushing upside. So I like that. He's one of the last running quarterbacks on the board that has that rushing upside at this point in the draft. So that ends our eighth round, and then that's followed by Jonnu and Jalen Warren. I think at this point, I'm looking running back, and I like what I'm seeing here in Jordan Mason. I think he's going to get plenty of playing time. So we'll go Jordan Mason here. He's in Minnesota. Minnesota plays Detroit. So that gives us different ways to play this. If Minnesota's up, they get up with Justin Jefferson. Jameson fights back. They pound it in with Mason here. That there's the story that I'm telling week 17, but we're staying within the build and the game stacks. Getting back there to the Dolphins, that's Tampa Bay. So in this range, let's see. Looking to see what Tampa Bay guys are left. That's gotten pretty beat up. We have Jalen McMillan. I'm not sure I want to chase that. Who's Cleveland playing? Cleveland gets Pittsburgh. I don't have anything there. That's not to say I can't get something, but Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Green Bay. That's interesting. Definitely. Sorry, it's getting a little quiet here. I'm trying to think through how I want to approach this next pick. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this range. I like Purdy goes. So then I'm going to take Goff. And then on the way back here, I'm thinking running back. I know people are way down on Travis Etienne. Jaden Blue is interesting to me, especially in best ball. Travis Etienne goes. I think the play here is Jaden Blue if he makes it. Yeah. Let's go Jaden Blue. Now I want to look at Dallas's game stack. Dallas has Washington. So we'll just see if there's anything Washington related that's going to kind of come up at the next pick. We have Eckler. Wait. Washington. $15 picks away. We'll definitely want to look in this range for volatility. Volatility. Spike week, guys. I'm not so much worried about floors anymore at this point in the draft. Once you get to about week 11, I'm looking for guys that can offer 3 to 4 major spike weeks. Tajay Spears seems like he could possibly fit that. Gorendo, if he were to get a chance. White, it's a possibility. I've seen a little bit of that with Ray. Jalen Knoll definitely feels like he could fit that mold. Adam Thielen does it every now and then. Carolina's playing who? Carolina gets Seattle. I don't have any pieces of those teams, but find that interesting. Pat, though, if I were to get a piece of Cleveland up here in some capacity, I do like Tajay Spears in this range. I think he is interesting. Sorry, getting into some thought now, trying to weave together some game stacks and some team stacks. I'm looking at Washington. I'm looking at Houston's got Chargers. Okay. And Tennessee has who? Tennessee has New Orleans. Okay, I'm gonna go Tajay. Oh no, I'm gonna go Austin Eckler here. Shoot, Tajay. Crap. Meant to go Eckler. Ended up with Tajay. Still good value. Um, let's see. Carolina plays who? Seattle. Not sure how we're weaving that in at this point. I do like the spike week potential of both Knoll and we go Houston. I'm gonna try to get back to some Chargers. Okay, so we're looking for maybe like a Charger piece down here. Let's see what hits. Devin Neal. That's a run back piece for us. Carolina gets Seattle. Denver gets Kansas City. But I didn't kind of get into those builds. Okay. So we have Pittsburgh would only be if we get a little bit of Cleveland in there. Michael Wilson, he makes sense coming up here. New Orleans makes sense. Okay, Tua comes off the board. Not that we were going to necessarily get him, but maybe. Thought about it. Well, looking for a third-year breakout here on Michael Wilson. Also fits the build nicely. We're going to go Michael Wilson there. That gets us 7 wide receivers. In terms of what we might be able to do here with Tennessee, New Orleans. If there's any New Orleans pieces left in here. Let's ride this out with Adam Thielen one more time. We'll make that our 8th pick. Carolina has Seattle. I'm not sure if we're getting back to that. Although it's possible with a piece of Sam Darnold here. We also have Devin Neal. Jalen Wright. We need tight end now. So Houston, Chig, Schultz, Sanders. I'm going to take a couple stabs on those guys. Maybe Jawan Jennings. Jawan Johnson, would make a lot of sense here because we've got that New Orleans bring back with Tennessee. So that's going to bump him up to the top there. I also think he's a little sneaky there, real cheap, basically free. Giddens too. Feels like he's got some upside in this range. Rams play Atlanta. So we'll get our Devin Neal piece. And then we have 2 more picks left. Probably grab Sam Darnold here to go with our Carolina pieces. And then get that Carolina tight end. So we'll grab Sam. He's a nice... Oh, and everybody's by week 8. That's okay. That's the week to do it if you're not going to have a quarterback. And then we're going to wrap this puppy up with either Chig or Sanders or Jawan. And that's how this puppy's going to end. And we'll do a quick recap. Only issue I see is all 3 of that week 8 bye, but that's okay. Other than that, ooh, Elijah Arroyo. That could be sneaky too. That could be really sneaky. To me, it's between Arroyo and Jawan. Now, I don't have the quarterback in New Orleans. I do have Sam Darnold. So having Sam Darnold be able to grab an Arroyo here at the end to go with my Trey McBride. Those are 2 very light an early investment here in McBride and then not coming back to the position until the very end of the draft. That supports the data that says that you don't overinvest in tight ends in best ball. We'll go over the lineup here in just a second as soon as I finish up this 18th pick. But this has been a pretty good build. We have Kyler, who's stacked with McBride, and is also, I've got that comeback or that other piece with Wilson, and they are playing Cincinnati. So I didn't get a game stack there, but I did get a team stack. Was able to get a couple game stacks going though. I think I'm going to roll the dice here with Elijah Arroyo. I'll get this little skinny stack going with Darnold and Arroyo if he has a breakout this year. I like it more than the quarterback situation going down in New Orleans, which is where I would invest in Jawan to kind of go with that Tennessee, New Orleans week 17 game stack. I don't think I'm going to get sniped here on Arroyo, but it's possible. But then we'll go over this build. We have a Detroit, Minnesota build for week 17. And then we had Tennessee, New Orleans. Was able to get that going. And then Tampa Bay with a little piece of Miami. So 3 game stacks. and then a couple other stacks. So get this knocked out, and then we'll go over the team. So Arroyo's there. I'm going to roll the dice. He has a ton of upside. Could get kind of, have some spike weeks. So go ahead and wrap it up there. All right, so let's go over the team. So at quarterback, and we did have one little issue here with the bye week, but we'll get that fixed for next time. Kyler, he's got the legs, and he's got an ascending offense. So he's going to do this with Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. Then we have Jared Goff. He's stacked with Jameson Williams. He's also got the run back with Justin Jefferson. And then we have the Minnesota piece here as well with Jordan Mason. Then we have the skinny stack with Sam Darnold, and he's paired up with Elijah Arroyo for week 17, and they are playing the Carolina Panthers. So that Carolina Panthers matchup will give us Adam Thielen. He's got a few spike weeks in him, I'm sure. This is his last rodeo. And then we also have, I guess that was the only Carolina piece for the run back. And then we had San Francisco. San Francisco is playing the Chicago Bears. So we were able to get a little run back here with Brandon Ayuk and Rome Odunze. I think that's pretty sweet. And then the other piece of that is Miami. So Miami is playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we have our hero RB in Bucky, and then our comeback here with Jalen Waddle. So that pretty much does it for this Schnauzer best ball draft. If you got here late, go ahead and check out the stream as soon as I end it, and you'll be able to hear kind of my theory and my thought process for how I put this build together. But I ended up going 3 quarterback. There's a lot of data that supports the 3 quarterback build as a winning build. Didn't overinvest, but got my 5 running backs, which is also a strong count for running backs, and the way I kind of weave that in with those game stacks. And then went really strong here. Really only one naked player that doesn't have either, a team or a game stack. That'd be Jalen Nolan, just looking for some upside there. I think he could slot into that slot role for Houston pretty quickly and take over for Tank Dell and an aging Christian Kirk. But yeah, really, I think strong here at the wide receiver spot, and then got a really strong tight end and didn't come back until the 18th round and took a big swing, boom bust pick there at 18 with Elijah Arroyo. So appreciate you all joining. Thanks again. And I'll try to come back later today or this weekend for another Schnauzer. I've got 7 more to go to max out that tournament. Then we're going to be hopping over to the puppy and Best Ball Mania 6 to really take our game to the next level throughout the summer. So thanks again for joining, and we will catch you on the next stream.